Hi, I'm Glenn Potiger, President and CEO of CTCE Federal Credit Union. CTCE is proud to sponsor this Greater Reading Chamber Minute.
While everyone is focused on the healthcare debate in Washington, there's another issue that will likely be considered this fall that will have a significant impact on Pennsylvanians if passed. That legislation is the Cap and Trade Bill, also referred to as the Climate Bill, the Carbon Bill, or the Waxman-Markey Bill. Simply put, the intent of this legislation is to reduce the gases linked to global warming by forcing power to shift away from fossil fuels. When burned, fossil fuels release heat-trapping carbon gases, which you probably know as greenhouse gases. The legislation would put limits on the emissions of greenhouse gases from major sources like power plants, refineries, and factories. That's the cap. Companies would receive permits for their share of allowable emissions, a pollution allowance, if you will. Some companies may have more emissions than their permit will allow. If they can't reduce their emissions through changes in production or in new technologies, they will need to purchase an allowance from a company that doesn't emit as much as their permit allows. That is the trade. The cap will get lower and lower, by 2050 reaching an 80% reduction. The permit allowances will also keep reducing, so the companies will be forced to reduce their emissions. The problem for Pennsylvania and our neighboring states is that 60% of our electricity is generated from coal-burning plants. It will be very tough for coal-burning plants to reduce emissions at the outset of the program because technology to capture and store carbon dioxide is not yet commercially available. It's probably 10 to 20 years away. If companies cannot reduce emissions enough or find allowances to purchase, they will be taxed at a rate twice that of the allowance. It is feared this cost of compliance will create a new wave of offshoring. In fact, the bill appears to anticipate this because it includes a program giving displaced workers 156 weeks of unemployment benefits and up to $3,000 per person for job search assistance. Ironically, if a new wave of offshoring occurs, those jobs will likely go to countries like China and India that don't have controls on emissions like we already have in place in the U.S., so global emission levels may actually increase. Developing countries account for 97% of the carbon increases globally. Studies have shown that between the rate caps coming off and cap and trade, electric rates could soar 55%. The price of gasoline would increase as much as 77 cents per gallon. The PA Public Utility Commission has gone on record saying this legislation could be catastrophic for Pennsylvania workers and families. The Chamber opposes the cap and trade legislation because of the increase on the cost of electricity, gas, and manufacturing. We would encourage the federal government to focus on incenting the development of alternative energies. We also would like to see the government focus on international treaties that set real, enforceable targets for all nations. Only after the ratification of an international climate agreement should Congress undertake legislation to implement the treaty domestically. The legislation has already passed the House. All 4 of our Berks County congressmen voted against it. A Senate vote is expected this fall. Please go to the Chamber's advocacy website, www.greaterreadingvoice.com, and send an email to our senators asking them to oppose cap and trade legislation. We simply can't afford to put more PA jobs at risk.
CTCE Federal Credit Union was founded in 1970 to serve the financial needs of the employees of Carpenter Technology Corporation. Now, almost 40 years later, CTCE provides a full range of financial services to the Berks County community, 15,000 members, and over 300 companies. CTCE partners with many community organizations and is involved with various nonprofit boards, fundraising, and financial education commitment to our in-school programs and learning centers. I invite you to stop into one of our 6 branches, open 7 days a week, and find out just why so many people are taking advantage of the benefits that membership in CTCE has to offer.